Yeah, this is Secret Squirrels, episode, what now? 35. Tonight we're going to talk a little bit about Jeff Sessions, because he had a couple speeches today, and I think they might be of interest. I'm hoping so. And we'll probably do a little contextualization with the most recent Q post that I know of. Because I think, basically Corsi Nation, us Secret Squirrels, we're the guy behind the scenes guys of CorsiNation.com, and Dr. Corsi has to wait until Mueller's out of there, I think. So what's going on with Mueller? Well, that Q post, if you are familiar with it, it's number 2381 on the one that I use, but we'll get to that. First, how is everybody?
Well, I'd like to bring up that it's not just the guys behind the scenes at Corsi Nation. It's
That's
the
a
gals.
general term, okay? It's a general term.
Freaking grammar Nazi.
Sort of like what the Yankees say, hey, you guys.
Yeah.
Hey, I was trying to be one of the leftists. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, we're not going to
Well, if you
tolerate
were a
that.
leftist, then you probably would have gotten upset because it had a gender connotation at all. It's like, how dare you have gender? You,
or
something like that.
I'm going to cry.
Yeah, we'll go
That's
ahead and
okay.
beat you up at the beginning of the show.
No, we'll pat you on the back as you're crying. So as you're sobbing in your milk or whatever it is.
Booze. It's booze.
Are you sure you're allowed to have that?
He's reaffirming his masculinity there by saying, I drink beer. I drink
beer. I'm drinking some right now.
I didn't say it was beer. I said it was booze. So, nah.
Well, he is in a mood tonight, isn't he?
He is. We're in trouble now.
That's right. Look out.
So what do we got with this? We got Army Wife and that crusty old guy that you're hearing there. It's Bandit. I'm Brainstorm. We got Jackson Wild and JR. Everybody, introduce yourselves. Army Wife.
You just introduced us.
Yeah, but who are you, existentially speaking? I mean, what does it mean to be you? What is your life like? Tell me.
What is our today? It's nice and cold here in Texas. We have the high in the 40s and the low in the 40s, which is highly irregular for October in Central Texas. But we're in a flash flood, just loving it, man, loving it. And let's see, what else do I do? I got my garden put away. I garden a lot, do a lot of prepping, build stuff, lots of furniture. And I was an Army wife for 20 years, and we're retired now and loving retirement.
That prepping thing sounds fun. I want to do some of the things that are involved in prepping. But
okay, we'll talk about that.
Well, not just now, but at some point we will. But it's like, okay, we got Army Wife. She's got that little bit of a Southern drawl going on. We also got JR in the house. There's another Southern accent.
That would be me, Georgia Peach. And it actually cooled down here, and now it's back to hot. It was 86 today, so I'm looking forward to more.
Weren't you in the path of that big storm, Michael, or something? I mean,
I tell you what, praise the Lord, we got rain, but that was it.
Thank God.
It missed us.
So as far as you're concerned, Michael was a big dud.
I'm glad it was. I was really worried.
But it sounds like Florida's got some damage. Jack's here's got some personal insight into the situation in Florida. Jackson,
yeah.
Tell us about Florida. What do you want me to say? Tell us about Florida. What's going on there?
Attitude.
My daughter is just living in Alabama right now because that's the closest hotel, because they're not being allowed back to Panama City. They're saying now probably not until the end of the month. So she has to go back because she has to get some things. And so she doesn't know how she's going to do it. But they're saying the power won't be on until the 24th. They're saying Mexico Beach, they're not even thinking about building it again because all that's left is foundations.
So from inside scoop sources and stuff, we have it right there. We got Florida is no longer.
Well, that part of Florida.
Wow.
Tyndall Air Force Base.
We might as well just write Florida off, apparently. Is that the story?
Well, I was told a story today about two doctors that built a vacation home right there on the beach, but they built it to like very high hurricane standards, and their house is there. No windows were busted out. It's perfect.
Well, that's what she said. She says it's interesting because when you drive down the street, you'll see some houses they don't even look like they've been touched, and then others there's nothing there. She says that's it. It's gone.
Age. So, that's the ages of the houses. They were built long ago. They weren't up to hurricane codes, and then newer ones that were up to hurricane codes have survived. And then if they rebuild, they'll more than likely withstand the next storm.
Yeah. Well, I asked her to go see if my favorite restaurant was still there, and she said they weren't allowed to get that far. They had to go back and come back when they found out they weren't supposed to be there.
So is there any internet connection down that way? Can we find webcams down in Florida?
I've tried. I usually look at Pineapple Willie's webcam, and it's offline. I've looked at all of the other webcams that they have down there. They're all offline. There's no power. Nothing. And they've got the power company working 24 hours a day. They do not expect power to be restored to the city until the 24th.
Wow. And so you think the storm was a HARP project? Some form of weather modification?
You know what? When John Adams was tracking it, he said he'd never seen a storm that was the tails of it were so close together. So it makes me wonder, if it was, a HARP project. So
what I was thinking about it is how it was a Category 2, and everybody's like, okay, this is just going to be rain. Then it was a 3. Then all of a sudden, oh wow, it's a major 4.
Yeah.
So they might have pumped some energy into that storm.
That's right. What I was thinking.
Right. Well, my daughter said that when she left, they were told that it was only going to be a Category 2. Mm-hmm. And so she didn't take that much. She just thinking, oh yeah, they'll be fine. And then when they ended up getting to New Orleans, they were talking to the hotel clerk, and they said, yeah, it's only 1 mile an hour below Category 5. And she went, what? So they're kind of, so she's like, I told her, I said, well, aren't you glad you weren't able to take your dog with you? And she says, oh, it would have been miserable trying to get a hotel with animals. So, yeah.
Is that why people leave their animals behind when they have storms?
Yeah, I think so. It's just because they don't have a choice. And I think that's too bad. I think the animal shelter should open up and let people put their animals there.
Yeah, it'd be better to put everybody in your car and just start driving, including your animals, right? Right.
So what'd she do with her dog?
I have them.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
I have her cats and her dog, and it's a full house. So Fire Sessions is saying the hurricane was stalled with microwave transmitters, just enough for it to increase size right before it made landfall. Mm-hmm. And that would make sense. Mm-hmm. My oldest son seems to think that it's because Trump got us out of the global climate accord. But I laughed. I told him to stop drinking his dad's Kool-Aid. Yeah. So yeah. So she said that she's going to try and go back tomorrow. She'd get us pictures if she could, and she'd upload them for us. So
awesome.
So I was going to turn to Q next. So that was the first thing I was going to look at. And just to be clear about this, I am neither supporting Q or rejecting Q. I'm just looking at it, see what we can learn from it, if anything. I don't know if it's trustworthy or not. I do tend to think that it's military intelligence, but I, being somebody who has been in the military, and we got Bandit here who can possibly back me up on this if he's nice enough, grumpy mood. But being in the military doesn't mean that you have perfect judgment.
Bandit.
He's a robot.
He's a robot.
Yeah.
This is Bandit.
Am I in a bad place? Am I? All right.
I think so.
You're okay now.
Yeah, he interrupted me, but so I was going to say, if Bandit was not in a grumpy mood, of course now he's a robot grump. So now you never know what's going on.
No, it really counts.
Yeah. So
Transformers there.
So I was turning to Q here, but Q, at least according to Q, is a bunch of military intelligence. 9 out of 10 people on the Q team are probably military officers, probably high-ranking military officers. So I was going to ask Bandit here what he thinks in terms of, how trustworthy are the military officers in terms of having good judgment?
Well, that is a good question. Am I roboting?
No, you're good now.
Mm-mm.
All right, I'm up in my crow's nest here in my son's room upstairs. Here's the thing. Lifers, trustworthy. I truly believe, absolutely trustworthy.
In what sense?
Patriots. In the sense they're patriots.
So they have good intentions.
Good intentions, exactly.
But does good intentions guarantee accurate information or good judgment?
Here's my thoughts on it. If Q is what we accept Q is, if that even sounded grammatically correct.
Q is what he claims to be.
Right. You would have to think that those would be good people. And when I say good people, I mean good patriots that have the best intentions for this country in their hearts. It would be too easy for a military lifer officer to get power hungry. And that's the scary part. However, they're either all in on it. You know what I'm saying? So they're either all in on it and they're all bad, acting like they're good, or they're all good. We've got to assume they're all good because of what they've told us so far. Well, information has been leaked.
In my experience, and I'm not denying your experience, but having good intentions does not necessarily mean that they have good judgment. You can be well-intentioned and still screw things up,
What do they say about the road to hell? Paved with good intentions.
Right.
Granted, they have access most likely to some pretty sophisticated equipment, and they have access to basically any secrets that are out there. But in terms of the way that they judge that information and what that information means, I'm not as convinced. So that is, if I say, that Q is who they say they are, that's not necessarily a good thing.
We also have to keep in mind too that Q said early on that there will be disinformation put out.
Right.
And so we have to take that into consideration also when you're reading Q posts, is how do you weigh what's the truth and what's not?
Because the Democrats are looking at that too.
Right.
There's a judgment call engaged in some of this stuff. Some of the stuff is straight up fact or fiction. It's either true or false. There's no interpretation to it. So that kind of material that they're talking about, which is strictly like yes or no, I tend to trust that more than I do some of the other things that they say that are more questions of philosophy, we'll say, different positions. Like when they try to tell us what it means to be a good patriot, I am saying bull crap. You can't tell me that you know better than I do what patriotism is or who should be considered a patriot. what does that got to do with facts? That's an entirely like a judgment call, right?
Well, and it's subjective from person to person.
Yeah, like when they attacked Alex Jones, I didn't like that. I've watched Alex for a long time, and
well, yeah. Now, see, on the Alex Jones point, I can kind of see the potential there for. I mean, I think the basic idea there with the Alex Jones thing is that they're saying that he does tell true information, but he also slips in some different disinformation. But worse than that,
possible.
Worse than that, though, would be the kind of animated. You know, he him with his bug eyes and everything. He comes across as a crazy person. And so, you know.
Well, that's part of Alex's, what do you call it, allure or whatever?
Well, it depends on who his audience is. You know, to the general public, right. Alex Jones is a crazy guy. And so, if for a crazy guy like Alex Jones telling you the absolute truth, it's going to put a spin on it. It's going to make it so that nobody takes that truth seriously because of the fact that this crazy guy is the one that's saying it.
Right. Yeah, he does lose his credibility on that.
That's the point. I think that's what Q's saying.
That is one of the things about President Trump that has bothered me since the beginning. And I ended up learning to accept it and embrace it. But I always thought, man, the guy's smart. He'll make a great president and everything else, but he's just not presidential. And when I say presidential, Ronald Reagan was presidential. JFK was presidential. Bush was not. Obama was not. Even Bill Clinton was not. Bill Clinton, I hate to say this, was cool. He was cool. And in no way did I, ever want him as a president or anything like that. But he had a personality. But he wasn't presidential either. Ronald Reagan was presidential. JFK was presidential. And as great as a president as Donald Trump is, I wish he was more like those two. I really wish he had their aplomb and sensibilities. But as it turns out, the way he is might just be exactly what we needed. He knows how to get under their skin. He knows how to trip their triggers, and it's working. Yeah. But I often thought if he was more presidential right from the get-go, he would have gotten more people on his side.
It's hard to say because
right from the get-go.
I mean, the way he's coming across might be part of his strategy. So
no, I know. That's what I said. I've changed my mind on all that. But
I think when people were voting in 2016, I think they were so sick and tired of the slick, glib. I mean, look at Mitt Romney.
That guy's
it's just that you have to realize. I think people were sick and tired of these people that were career politicians and giving you the line and saying, yeah, I'll go do it. And then they go in and we vote them in office and they do not one darn thing. And I really think that that Trump had to be who he was. I'm glad he didn't change who he was to fit the office.
No, I know.
Because he needs that, I think, to fight these people.
I think so too. I agree with that.
He's a wild card. They don't know where he's coming from.
Nope. Well, I'm going to go ahead and bring up that Q page now. That very last post. I'm going to even make it bigger because I have bad eyesight and maybe some of you do too. Boom. Okay. So this is from October 9th, and it would be nice if we got a new one coming along pretty soon. But this is the latest one. So the general statement says, we understand that there is extreme fatigue and frustration regarding the wheels of justice. Exclude emotion and personal desire. Instead, use logic and critical thinking based on situational awareness. Undo a lifetime of evil and corruption. So, see, even right here, I'm going to be criticizing Q. But this is not to say that Q is bad or bad intentioned or anything like that. This has to do with whoever the Q team is and the attitudes they have towards certain things. I mean, all along, Q has been telling us that all this stuff was going to be going down soon. And then I know that soon is a relative term, but he had us chomping at the bit months ago. Mm-hmm. At this point, it is extreme fatigue, but that's because the expectations were high. That was something that Q brought on himself or themselves.
Yeah, didn't he say that at one point that Hillary was going to get arrested next week, and then nothing happened? We saw nothing.
Well,
I wonder if that was one of the things that was disinformation, though.
Yeah, well, but that's the problem, is fine if you're going to put...
We don't know.
Well, all those individual facts, though, I mean, those are, individual points, like Hillary, when does Hillary get arrested? And I don't know under what level of surveillance she's, I mean, that's just one little thing. But, like, in general, he was been posting this boom, boom, boom. It's happening now, and it's getting everybody psyched up. And it's just like...
Where?
Yeah, see, and now it's like, I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of getting this hyped up, ready for something to happen, and nothing happens. Yep. And so the frustration here regarding the Wheels of Joseph. So the next line: exclude emotion and personal desire. It is from their own rhetorical design that they got us pumped up.
Right.
That's their own. That's their fault.
It is.
Instead, use logic and critical thinking. Okay, define logic, define critical thinking. Logic is deductive reasoning. Critical thinking, it's such an overused phrase. Critical thinking. What does it mean? Anyway, and situational awareness, that's a military term, and that's... Anyway, that's enough of that.
All right, so to me, situational awareness is where you're at and what's around you. So what does that have to do, to me, is Joe Public?
Yeah, well...
What's that got to do with what's going on?
Yeah, and offering the criticism of Q, I'm not trying to say that Q is not telling us legit stuff. I'm just saying that, we have very limited situational awareness. I mean, some of what we are aware of in terms of our situation is directly due to Q, and I have to give credit there, but the situational awareness, at this point, we can't tell who's disinformation and who's not. And we can't tell which sources to trust and who not, and that is very frustrating for the typical citizen, as far as I can tell. I mean, at least I consider myself a typical citizen, and I'm frustrated. So, anyway.
All right, so this is the way I look at Q. This could be John Brennan.
Well, I doubt that, but I mean, it's possible. Anything's possible.
It could be the bad guys sitting here putting this stuff on here. So it's kind of like I take it with a grain of salt.
No, I don't think that. I mean, there's enough stuff in there, proofs of legitimacy. I do believe that Q and the president are working together. I mean, but that's the kind of thing that you have to decide for yourself what you believe on that. But
I mean, I'll look at it, but I don't truly trust it.
Well, I think a little bit of skepticism is going to be good all the time. You don't want to be totally
naive.
Yeah, and caught up in it and everything, because that's where cult-like behavior comes from. Everybody gets so fanatical about a particular source, and I mean, that's how you make a cult. And I was following an account on Twitter for a while. It's called Back Channel 17. And I said something like that, and I got blocked from Back Channel 17.
So
do you guys know who Back Channel 17 ended up being? Supposedly, this is the rumor. Rumor has it that Back Channel 17 was actually Julian Assange. But we don't know that for sure. Anyway...
All right. Before you move on, go ahead.
Recently,
go ahead there.
General Flynn had done a brief. It was at the YAF, I think it was. I seen, and he talked about the digital heroes, and he was very adamant about this conversation. So maybe he has some insight into who's on the Q team, but. What he talked about on there was, in a way, relative to what Q's doing. So he talked about digital heroes. So I think that maybe he's got a little bit of insight of who is on that team. maybe he's part of the team. God, I just don't know.
Well, that's another one of those points that's like something that gets repeated in Q all the time. Like patriots are humble and blah blah blah. Just like, you know what? That's not true. You need to have leadership in any movement for it to be successful. You need to have clear, inspirational figures. And that's a big part of the reason why so many people are fanatical about Q, is because we are starving for good leadership. We're starving for people that actually can stand up and represent something,
I'm going to throw this out here, and I should probably investigate before I throw this out here, but what the heck, I got a big head anyway. The words critical thinking, and if you remember, during several of our meetings, I brought up the fact that it took years and years. Actually, I think I said this on one of the shows, one of Corsi Nation shows. It took years and years and years for the deep state to get embedded and everything else. We can't expect him to undo all of this in less than 2 years. I want to know. I'm going to go back and look on what show that I did that on, because I'm telling you, I'm looking at this, and this is exactly what was said on one of our shows. That's, I know, big-headed and everything else, but might sound goofy, but I'm going to check it out.
Well, some of the stuff that I have a problem with Q on is yeah, I agree with everything that Brainstorm's saying, but some of his posts back early on, he sat there and said, "Don't worry about it, we'll take care of it." And that really bothers me, because they're not the only ones in this nation. There's others. All of us want to have a part in getting our nation back, and we've done it at the election box. Why can't they let us do more?
No, that's part of the judgment call.
Country.
That's what I'm saying about the judgment thing, is like I can take seriously a lot of the stuff that's strict factual information from Q, and even accounting for that some of it's going to be disinformation. But when they have statements like that, sit back and relax. It's like they don't necessarily understand the needs that we have as citizens, the needs to participate, to feel empowered. Because PTSD, the way that you fight PTSD, and that's basically what we're all suffering from on a collective level. We're all collectively suffering from traumatic effects of mainstream media lying to us for generations.
And our government.
Yeah, so everybody's lying to us, and we are feeling very helpless.
Pissed off.
Yeah, helpless and pissed off and all these things, and we need to be able to know what we can do. We have to have a locus of control. We have to have some way that we can feel like we're participating, and to say to that group of people, to say to them, "Oh, you just have to sit there and wait for us." What a load of crap.
Exactly. And that is my, I'll tell Q to their faces, that's the biggest line of bull malarkey I've ever seen in my life. What the heck is wrong with you boys?
Yeah.
And like girls, if there's any.
Well, wasn't there something like that? I don't remember who I heard say this, that they thought that the Q thing had been taken over by the black hats.
Well, lots of people have lots of opinions, but yeah, I don't think that's true. I mean, I do think that at some point there was some security issues, but I think it's been resolved. I'm not clear on exactly when that was.
Yeah, I don't know how the 8chan or 4chan works, so I don't know.
It's just it's a simple bulletin board system.
So so this one person is Q and nobody else can be Q?
It's not a person, it's a team of people. And judging by the way that I've seen military operations work before, usually one of the people on that team are probably relegated to that responsibility. So, okay, Joe, you go do this, and that's probably their job on the team. Pass on this information, and they probably got it mapped out, with a Q clock and all that stuff. But there's going to be differences between one member of that team and the other members of the team in terms of what should be said when. There's going to be some differences in judgment on that, even if they have perfect intentions. But anyway, and so all that aside, I think we've hopefully gone through enough caveats at this point. So I do want to address this stuff that's in here, because I mean, this is the situation we're in right now. We've got Kavanaugh just approved, and he's on the Supreme Court now, so it's Justice Kavanaugh at this point. But all this time we've been waiting for that, and that has held them up in their plan, because after they've had to wait until Kavanaugh got confirmed before they could release the documents. And before they can before they can release the documents, they have to activate sessions. And that's got to do with, so all this stuff here, let's read through here. How can you make arrests prior to first fully cleaning out corrupt elements at the top of those departments, FBI and DOJ, that oversee investigation and prosecution in the United States? They themselves are the very ones engaged in the illegal treasonous acts. So they've got a list of the people here that have been fired or disempowered, or the ones that are going to be fired or disempowered, and they got people that are about to be fired. So, and that's all good. So
it is. That's a long list too.
So those are key players, apparently, of the deep state that are in positions of power in the DOJ and FBI. And then the questions come again. How do you ensure that those prosecuted non-military would receive an impartial judgment based on the rule of law? Well, first you have to install judges that actually will follow the law and not be judicial activists, right? And people who will try to play favoritism with their buddies, their fellow Satanists or whatever they are. So how do you ensure appeals to the U.S. Supreme Court are evaluated impartially? So again, we got this. So it's Justice Kavanaugh, military law versus criminal law. And that's that thing where, what's his name? Oh, shoot.
Lindsey Graham.
Yeah, Lindsey Graham, right.
The hero of the day.
Yeah, once No Name got executed, then for some reason, Lindsey Graham is suddenly free to do his job. I don't know what the correlation is there.
I still don't trust him fully, though, because he could still be working for Soros, just trying to put a bug in Trump's ear. I mean, sure. I don't trust him fully, but I think right now he's doing a good job.
Yeah, and some people, it's like it's too easy to want to split people up into white hats and black hats, and most likely people are just trying to do whatever it takes to survive this. So they're not either of those things.
Right. Some might not even be involved.
That's true.
Or some are just like playing the game as best they can, trying to keep their head above water. They don't know who's going to win, and so they just do whatever it takes to not get killed.
You're speaking of politicians.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how they act. Do whatever they think.
But in this case, it's literal.
Elected.
It's not just about securing your career. Now it's about actually securing your life.
That's true too. Yeah.
So anyway, so you got all these reasons, things that Mueller is doing to. This is the blockade that they're talking about. So Mueller is designed to take in evidence needed to expose the deep state. DOJ block regarding Mueller evidence ongoing investigation, designed to limit POTUS ability to maneuver. So if they're putting roadblocks, basically Mueller is acting as a roadblock in a multitude of ways, designed to stall for time until midterm elections, to terminate all House and Senate ongoing investigations, designed to safeguard Democratic Party base false narrative regarding Russia collusion. And this whole sky is falling thing is like that. Every week you got a new crisis that they're trying to talk to us about and tell us they're supposed to be on edge for, an effort to divide and mobilize for future protests, riots, threats, and false flags. So they're just trying to spin up the crowd, the Gen Pop, and make sure that everybody is ready to, it's a powder keg ready to explode. And then you have the Soros people telling the Antifa people to go out into the streets and beat up garbage cans. But anyway, designed to mobilize the Democratic Party to donate and vote in the midterms and all this stuff. So the only way to get rid of that blockade, which has to happen before the midterms, that's part of the thing that I'm reading in this, is that this makes it pretty clear that Mueller has to go down before the midterms. The midterms coming up really soon here. You know, it's only a few weeks away.
3 weeks. 3 weeks tomorrow.
Well, and how do they propose in taking Mueller down?
Well, that's Sessions' job, right? So they've activated Sessions, and it was a previous thing. But how do you remove installed blockade? Declass. So they have to declassify these documents. And how do you navigate around installed corrupt FBI and DOJ? Use a stealth bomber, and everybody knows that Jeff Sessions is Stealth Jeff. So Jeff Sessions is the stealth bomber. He's the one that's...
I heard he was like the silent what?
I don't know. Because it says right here, why did McCabe try to take Sessions out? See, Sessions is the key to getting the declassified documents going. And that's got to do with Horowitz, I think. Horowitz and Huber. I'm not sure how that fits together. But we do know that Jeff Sessions is the key, in this, at least in the Q world. If you buy into the Q world at all, Jeff Sessions is what we're watching right now. So today, that brings us finally to why we're doing this today, because they just announced an MS-13 gang and drug cartel the title is MS-13 gang drug cartels among top threats to the United States, Jeff Sessions says, and this is today. Attorney General Jeff Sessions created a new task force aimed at zeroing in on 3 of the world's most notorious drug cartels in the brutal MS-13 street gang, already considered top priority for federal law enforcement. So speaking to a group of federal prosecutors on Monday, Sessions designated 5 groups as top transnational organized crime threats and said the new task force will develop a plan to take each of these groups off our streets for good. So this is the thing. And so this is Sessions being activated. And this is right after Kavanaugh was confirmed. That was just last week, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So that fits in with what Q's saying, that first, you have to get Kavanaugh installed, and now you have to get the declassification of the documents. But something that Jeff Sessions has to be doing something first, and the question is what? So that's what I'm trying to figure out tonight. What is Jeff Sessions up to?
So is this it, or is there something else?
I think this is part of it. It's not the whole story, but keep in mind, this all has to happen before the midterm. So we got 3 weeks starting with this stuff. So right now, he's doing this, starting this special task force. And also, which is curious, Rosenstein actually introduced him to that in that speech that he gave on this. So it does put a big question on
today.
Yeah. And so what role is Rosenstein playing in this? Do they have leverage on Rosenstein?
I see Hezbollah on there. What does that say about Hezbollah?
Okay, so we can go down here a little bit.
Scroll down
U.S.
a little
Attorney
bit.
General Jeff Sessions on Monday said the Department of Justice will create a new task force whose function is to fight criminal organizations around the world. Speaking at the U.S. Attorney's Office in Washington, D.C., Sessions singled out groups including MS-13, Clan del Golfo, Hezbollah, Cartel de Jalisco Nueva Generación, and Sinaloa cartel as targets of the new task force. MS-13 is a cartel operating out of Central America that President Donald Trump has repeatedly singled out for their violent activities. We have hammered the vicious MS-13, which is based in El Salvador. So this gang is the most violent gang in America today. So we got the Drug Enforcement Administration, FBI, ATF, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, that's ICE, Homeland Security, IRS, Department of Labor, U.S. Postal Service, Secret Service. Everybody in the kitchen sink is in this new task force.
Okay, I hate to say this, but tomorrow's news today, Alex Jones was talking about this. He said MS-13 and Hezbollah was going to be the left's, I guess, trigger or their henchmen. And here we go. This is today. This news topic here.
So, at least according to Q, the war between Trump and Sessions is all just an act. And so maybe Here's a little bit of this conference or this presentation to Jeff.
Thank you, Rod. Thank you all. We, Rod and I, were talking about this job, and we both served 12 years as United States Attorney. Not many.
I'm going to speed this up a little bit, make it go faster. It's already on 1.25.
To serve that long, and so his experience, and they have their own ways of taxing innocent people. Are the kind of teams that we have together that make the Department of Justice and our law enforcement community so effective. We also have a number of prosecutors, Mexican prosecutors, with us today. And would you hold your hands up? I'd like to recognize you if you're in the room. Very good. We're so glad to have you here. Thank you for that partnership. It cannot be done effectively. That is
dead air.
Transnational
Dead air.
If both sides of our borders aren't working together. We just got back from Europe and talking about
put the YouTube channel on there.
Transnational organizations that we'll be focusing on too. So I want to thank our prosecutors in this office and our local partners who participate with them. You are doing important work. It's especially important against these violent gangs and cartels. Almost a year ago, this office, you obtained life sentences for the 2 hitmen of the Los Zetas cartel who murdered.
So we're supposed to make commentary every so often in here so we don't get hit for copyrights or some such. I'm not sure how much it matters anyway. We're not monetized, but here's my comment.
A Homeland HSI Special Agent Jaime Zapata and attempted to murder HSI Special Agent Victor Avila. These were vicious crimes against 2 outstanding law enforcement officers, and you have brought them to justice. And so I especially want to thank AUSA Michael DiLorenzo, AUSA Fernando Sanchez, trial attorneys David Carpel and Karen Seifert, as well as AUSA Jocelyn Ballantyne.
So there's a bunch of patting on the back. Let's skip ahead.
Salvador, the ones who ordered the hit, exactly what they'd done. They were so proud of it.
Ordering hits
Washington
on bad
area
guys
also
and stuff.
remembers the brutal killings of Nelson Omar Trujillo. 8 even more effective and aggressive than ever.
Not seeing
Thank you,
anything
Adam, for
that's
undertaking this task.
particularly
I've enjoyed talking with you about it, and I can
revealing.
sense the enthusiasm and determination he has as he takes on this task. These experienced professionals. Today, I'm designating the following 5 criminal groups as our top transnational
here's where he names the 5 criminal groups.
Threats. Ones that we are going to focus on and give special all-of-government attention to. MS-13, our new Jalisco cartel, the Sinaloa cartel, Clan del Golfo, Lebanese Hezbollah. So today, I'm announcing that we are creating a transnational organized crime task force of experienced prosecutors who will coordinate our efforts, develop a plan.
Okay, so I think that's basically the point there. So if we go back to the Q stuff, we have. I'm not sure how this fits in. I mean, maybe you guys can tell me how this works, but somehow I suspect that this task force is like a precursor to whatever he has to do in terms of bringing the I guess that's the question, is how does creating this task force help in declassifying these documents?
I'm going to say something that you're probably not going to want to hear, and a lot of people aren't going to want to hear. Ever since you got me involved in Q, and I got involved, and I'm grateful that you got me involved in Q and everything else, but I've often wondered if we're all not putting more on everyday occurrences than is really there. In other words, maybe this is just a task force against those 5 groups.
That's sure that's possible. But he's only got 3 weeks, right? Isn't that what the calendar says? How's he? How's he going to pull this off?
According to Q.
Yes.
Okay. So far, although there has been quite a few instances of commonalities, or however you want to say it, bless you, there's nothing concrete has happened. I mean, truly, nothing concrete has happened. Other than we have a great president who's in there trying to beat the deep state, and he's doing a hell of a job at it. there hasn't. I don't know. I'm tired. Sorry. Just.
Well, yeah. I mean, everybody's got the right to their own opinions, and that's something that I'm going to defend no matter what, because that's the one thing that I see as distinct from the Democrats. So all the Democrats require that you have the same exact thoughts. I hate the herd mentality of the Democrats.
Yeah.
So I'm going to respect people's different points of view on this, but you know, you can treat it as a hypothetical. To say that. I mean, whether Q says it or not. I mean, I think it's probably true that we have to get those memos declassified. Not just the FISA memo, but like whatever other documents are coming out. We have to have that happen before the midterms, right?
I agree with you, but yeah, I don't know that it's going to happen before the midterms. I mean, truthfully,
so.
But it has to.
I hope so. Why does it have to? Why does it have to? I'm not being a smart aleck here. Why does it have to?
Maybe it doesn't. Maybe we can win without it. I don't know. I don't know the numbers.
Okay, I see what you're saying, but no, I think we can win without it because of the walkaway movement. Trump won because enough of us got pissed off and went out and voted, and I'm thinking it's 10 times that number now. I'm thinking they, being the left, has just stepped on everybody's toes, and now you have not only those of us who voted for him originally going to vote red, you've got a bunch in the middle that came over and they're going to vote red, and you've even got leftist Democrats that are going to come over and vote red. I think we have it whooped. Now, as long as there is no voter fraud, I hope to God he pulls something out of his hat right before the elections on either paper ballots or voter IDs or both, hopefully both. If that happens, there's no way we won't win by a landslide everywhere we go.
How do you know that?
What do you mean, how do I know what?
How do you know that we're going to win by a landslide?
Well, if people get out and vote, they will
because
win
of what
by
I just
landslide.
said.
But you don't
because of what I just told you.
But we don't have any way of knowing what the actual numbers are of people that are MAGA. I mean, which poll are we going to believe?
Okay, well,
no.
Rallies.
Don't go by. Yes, don't go by polls. Do not go by polls. Look at the rallies and look at what everybody around you is saying. I just at the volleyball tournament, my daughter's volleyball tournament yesterday, I was talking to like-minded people. They introduced me to their parents, and they were like-minded. We were talking a little bit about Trump, and one of the gals says, yeah, I've got two co-workers of mine that have been Democrat all their lives and absolutely said they are voting red this November.
Awesome.
I see that and hear that all over. And we're seeing it with the walkaway movement. Could this all be fake? Absolutely. And we could all fall on our faces and it could be a horrible nightmare.
But the thing is, you're surrounded by people in a red state. I mean, well, not the whole state, but I mean, it's like...
I understand what you're saying.
It's rural. Rural environments, rural populations tend to vote Republican. So the more densely populated where the environment where you come from is, the more likely they're going to be blue state.
Sure, Chicago and Illinois and California. And I understand how that all works. But I'm telling you, even look at California. Look at all those counties.
They have a lot of red there.
Yes, they do. And they're trying to secede. I'm not saying California is going to turn red. I don't think that'll ever happen until maybe 20 years from now.
It's just the edges that are blue. The rest of the state is red.
Right. But I'm saying, look at how many people. We always thought the whole state. I did. I always thought the whole state of California was blue. And there's nothing you could do about it. And they're all freaking the left coast, the land of fruits and nuts. Yep, exactly. And everything else. And now I've seen in the last year how many people are so sick of what it's become and what it is out there.
But there's also a lot of people on the other side that are completely convinced by the mainstream media and impassioned in a very similar way. So how do you...
Well, they're more more than passion. They're almost violent about it. They are violent
they've about flipped their minds.
Yeah.
Fanatical.
So So it's just, how do you know? I mean, what those relative numbers are?
Listen. Okay, I don't know. You're right. I do not know. But I'm telling you that 2 years ago, when President Trump was elected, we had enough people that finally woke up and said, screw this, and we won. That was 2 years ago. We have more with us today. We have had more people. The president has done such a great job with this country. Everybody's economy is good. Everybody is working. Oh my God, the wages and the businesses are coming back. And I'm telling you right now.
Well, but okay, so according to, we'll say, a sane point of view, then things are good. But all those people on the left have the same sort of reasons in their own. I don't know what they are, but the lefties are. Anyway,
there's less of them.
Steve, now you got to think about this now. Okay, Bernie Sanders should have won that. Okay, they stole it from Bernie. I was on Twitter at the time. A lot of Bernie people were very upset. I even watched the DNC video. Treated the Bernie supporters was terrible. They turned to Trump. They didn't vote for that witch.
Well, yes, exactly. But that was, I hate to say it, that's not furthering our cause on this particular, because they were pissed off at her because she took the nomination from Bernie. They were Bernie fans.
But I think that did further our cause, because I think that opened a lot of people's eyes as to what was really going on with the Democrat Party.
Okay, you're right. You're right.
Exactly.
Okay, good.
Thank you for making my point for me, because that was it, Jax.
Yep.
Because it opened their eyes to see that these people.
Just for an FYI, I wish I could share it. On my Facebook page, I shared a meme that says, November 4th, we set our clocks back. November 6th, we take our country back.
Excellent.
And it's been, I shared it, about 3 days ago. It has reached over 222,000 people.
Wow.
It has been commented over 4,600 times. It's been shared over 4,600 times.
Yeah, that kind of makes you wonder if that shadow banning is still effective. I mean, they have been upping their ante in terms of like who they're banning, but it seems like the typical Joe is getting their message through somehow.
Well, I think you guys know more about this tech stuff than I do, but I think their logarithms are keyed in on certain words and everything else. So if you say something right, I mean, if you word it right, I think
their logarithms are their logarithms are based on actual words. However, they've got a new one that will do it and check the memes as well.
Yeah, they're trying to scan them.
And so far it doesn't, because I do not add much in the way of comments there. But if you mention Seth Rich, nobody will see it. Nobody will see it.
Right.
I was sharing. When the president was doing rallies, I put those up as events so that people on Facebook could just click on the event and then click on that and go and get tickets, so that everybody who wanted tickets could at least have the opportunity of getting it. I think I got 4, maybe 5 shares. But then when you go into the event, there were 15, 20 people saying, yeah, I'm going. And on the 2016 election, I was getting 10,000 people were saying they wanted to go or they were going. They've got algorithms there, and they work. It just seems like it's hinky now. I don't know what's going on, but the message is getting out.
Yeah, he's supposed to be in Houston on the 22nd of this month.
Is he? Yeah, it's not showing up on his rally page. Otherwise, I'd post that on my page. Oh, I lied. They just put some more up. He's going to be in Missoula. Missoula, Mesa, Elko, and Houston. Mm-hmm. And I will get those up on my page.
Awesome.
So, but I think we need to look at this for what it is. Yeah, we're going to be stopped at every corner. We're going to be stopped at every turn. But I think my feeling is I think we're getting the word out there, and I think that's why they're trying to stop us, is because they realize that's the genie out of the bottle they can't put back.
Mm-hmm. That's why they were so upset, because what they did during the last election didn't work.
Exactly.
It's all coming before the public now. A lot of those inside briefings and, all the videos and stuff like that they did for their employees are all coming out to the public.
Well, and then on top of that, now we've got leaders in high government positions that are sitting there saying, take out people who are Republicans, take out people who are not seeing our way. They cannot, we will not have civility unless they're gone.
And then people like the things that went on in Portland, I seen just a few minutes. I think Alex Jones and them had something on there. I can't remember. Anyway, it showed like these older people having to get out of their cars because Antifa was directing traffic, and they were like, why are you doing this to us?
Right. They are now in Oregon. You can actually get in trouble for stopping Antifa from attacking you in your car.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm glad I don't live there.
Yeah, and the mayors over there are just corrupt. Yeah, the mayors over there are just corrupt. They signed their own little policies, taking away a lot of people's weapons and stuff this last year. It's just ridiculous. They just need to have the federal government go in and arrest these crooked mayors and all these people that are allowing this stuff to happen. They're putting the public in harm's way intentionally, and that right there is against the law. Sorry, but it is.
Well, I think that's what's going to hand us the election.
Mm-hmm. That and more. And I'm going to tell you, Brain, I don't have numbers. You're right. I do not have numbers. I didn't take a poll. I don't trust any of the polls, any of them.
Hillary's got 98%.
Well, that's the problem, is that we don't.
No, hold on here. Just let me finish, please. Here's the thing. Back in 2016, I told all my friends and family the reason that he was going to win was because there are more of us. There are more Americans that are just old-fashioned Americans that don't want to say happy holidays. I know that sounds simple. I know it sounds stupid. But there are more Americans that want to say Merry Christmas without getting looked at, without catching crap from somebody. There are more of us than there are them. And I understand that everybody thinks that she won the popular vote. Because there was voter fraud going on big time, just like there was in Obama's second term.
Well, that was why Seth Rich did what he did, is because he was watching them do that firsthand.
Yes, and let me finish and I'll be done here.
Sorry.
So that's all right. I'm on a roll. And
Go for it.
And I'm very passionate. I'm very passionate about this. I do not have science to back it up. I do not have polls to back it up. I knew he was going to win because I knew, for the most part, Americans are American and for America, and they are patriots. It doesn't matter if you're a lowly farmer that doesn't get into politics much, or it doesn't matter what you do, where your stance is in the world. When common sense stuff begins to be wrong and idiocy becomes the norm, that's not right, and people know it, and people are going to vote against it. And I'm going to tell you, there's more of us now than there was in 2016. That's why we're going to win. That's why there's going to be a red tsunami, and that's why it doesn't matter what happens between now and the midterms. That's only my opinion. I realize I have nothing to back this up, but it's a gut feeling, and I'm freaking Marine. I'm a freaking trucker, and I'm a freaking American.
Well, I second that. I second it.
I back you up completely on it. I'm just hoping that we don't let our guard down. And I think that's what's important. We don't let our guard down, that everybody has to stay aware of what the fight is and how these people are going to do whatever they can to take this election from us. And it's important that every last one of us get out there and vote.
Oh, we have to. There's no two ways about that. But I think everybody will. I think everybody will, because everybody is afraid that if the blue wave does happen, we're done.
We're done. We are done. You'll be seeing us at FEMA camps, and people will have to send me ramens via my post office box of the FEMA camp.
We wouldn't be able to have this show probably right now.
Exactly.
If Hillary would have won.
District courts are ignoring their role
as gunslinging Palin says the writing is on the wall.
And justicability.
He's right.
Long established doctrines that limit matters that are appropriate.
And Fire Sessions says we can't give them any excuse to justify them stealing any of our votes. And he's right, too.
Adverse parties. As the Supreme Court has held, quote, no principle is more fundamental.
We have a lot of work to do. There's no two ways about it, and we can't drop the ball now. We're on the 30-yard line, and we're heading in. But, 3 weeks. Oh, it's going to be the longest 3 weeks of my life.
Oh, I know. It just seems like it's taking forever.
Brainstorm, what do you think has got to happen in the next 3 weeks?
Indeed, courts are even
I don't know. That's what I was trying to figure out tonight. But and I was,
for example,
going with the Q paradigm in that. But I'm trying to understand what Q is thinking in regards to what they think, what Congress Sessions needs to do in what particular order. And there's one article I came across. It was a Washington Post article, and I know that not everybody trusts Q, and I don't blame you or anything, but when you see a Washington Post article that says fire Sessions, that means Sessions is a good guy in my mind, just because of that. It's like if the bad guys, it's like enemy of my enemy is my friend. If Washington Post wants to take out Jeff Sessions, then I'm fighting for him.
Sorry, Fire Sessions, but I agree with Brain on this one.
I mean, but what is it that he's saying today? That's what I don't get. That's what I'm going to look at. I mean, we got the part where he was starting these task force. So what else? This is another. I'm playing right now. I'm playing another speech they gave tonight.
Are using and taking purely legal disputes. Matters that are normally properly settled by briefs on whether the law is right or unconstitutional or improper.
And he's talking about the judicial activism.
Yes, that's the part I caught. Go ahead.
Right.
Yeah, he's talking about he wants judges to follow the law. He wants the judicial system, the Justice Department to do their job and not overstep their bounds, because you got the legislative, basically separation of powers.
Contend that all this information from these agencies is necessary for the judge to decide whether
Fire Sessions says either way I'll be rallying against Coward, but it remains to be seen what Jeff Sessions is made of. If Trump really wasn't happy with him, I think he'd be gone by now. I really do.
I've said that many a time, believe me. I've said it on the Corsi show.
Is not the relevant test. It's simply a legal
I'm going to fast forward a little bit here and see what's later in the speech.
At some point, you can't.
Basically, he doesn't want these judges to be making law from the bench.
Make good change. You can't direct the future of our country. So the probing discovery of this kind, ordered by these courts in the census case, is just the kind of intrusion I think Hamilton wanted.
At a rush.
We're seeing a case.
That rush Sessions, yeah.
Well, they were just talking about Hamilton.
In the Freedom of Information Act, Congress explicitly declared, though, that the executive branch agencies
Let me ask you this, Spring. What he was just talking about, does that have anything to do with once the indictments start to fly, he's trying to make sure that, a federal judge from Hawaii can't somehow block the indictment.
Well, yeah. Now, keep in mind that Kavanaugh is the second Supreme Court justice, but Trump has a whole herd of I don't even know the names of all these different the 11th, 9th Circuit, or I don't even know that stuff.
Yeah, the appellate court judges, and then the basically that's what they were putting in the circuit judges and stuff on Friday. They actually had 54 that were supposed to be getting through, and they weren't going to put any of them through the Senate.
Yeah, I think the number's in the hundreds at this point.
And McConnell,
oh yeah, it's like 176 or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I heard. You're going to get some of these through, or we're not going to. You're not taking recess.
And so it does make sense what Q's saying there in that post that, that you have to get the judges in order before you can. I mean, everybody's basically. The long and short of it is everybody's wanting this to take place. They want these indictments served and all that stuff. And the thing is, you have to get the judges in place and the prosecutors, for that matter, to make sure that justice will be served. And I think that's part of this speech tonight with Sessions was talking about making sure that the judges are not, ruling from the, what do they call it? What you just said it?
Ruling from the bench. They were making law from the bench is what they were doing. Exactly, and that's what happens whenever you have these liberal judges on there that are making law from the bench,
legislating,
not following the Constitution. Then you have people who really committed crimes, and they have maybe they're having a PMS day as a judge, and they're helping them out the back door. These illegal immigrants who have committed horrendous crimes, and even
Kate Steinle's murder. Kate Steinle's murder, just like perfect example.
Just like that. And that's what happens with these liberal judges. So you have someone, they both say two different people commit the same crime, right? And you're at a constitutionalist is your judge. They're going to follow the law. And then you have the liberal who is the judge of the other person. Well, guess what? The liberal one is going to be like, it's no big deal, basically, and blow it off. So you get off scot-free. And the other one is going to serve 20 years in prison for the same exact crime because it was that bad. So that's the difference, and they need to get these liberal judges out of there if they're not going to do their job.
Plus, to disclose, this is the first time in my life that, and maybe it's just because it's more publicized or whatever, that we had a president who was making executive orders, and then we have a freaking judge from Hawaii blocking the executive orders.
Right.
Exactly.
What's up with that?
I didn't even know that was possible. I mean, how is that possible?
Because that's Obama's buddy. He went to college.
I understand, but
well,
I mean,
is it legal is the question.
Legally.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
Yeah. Then
what I want to know is how that little bitty island can say what's going to go on in the whole United States.
Exactly.
Like an island off in the sea somewhere.
But that's what Sessions was saying, that we can't do. That's not how it's supposed to work. This is not how it's supposed to work. This is what these people are doing is against the rule of law.
Standing.
The president says it. They don't have a say in it. Congress, but that takes a vote of Congress and lots of people, not just one guy on a bench. Oh my God!
Let's just see if what else Sessions has got to say here.
Any district judge can demand to see the deliberations of the executive branch will also inevitably have a chilling effect. Some will be reluctant to speak candidly. In fact, the Supreme Court has warned about this, saying, quote, officials will not communicate candidly among themselves if each remark is a potential item of discovery on front page news on the New York Times or someplace. So the Supreme Court has instructed, quote, the high respect that is owed to the office of chief executive should inform the timing and scope of any discovery. So to simply put, discovery against the President of the United States should not be treated lightly. The man is busy, in case you'd like to know. And you go waltz into depositions, you got to spend a long time studying and preparing to make sure everything's right. It's a monumental disruption. It should not be done lightly. And there's no basis for it. Subjecting the executive branch to this kind of discovery is not acceptable. It's just not. And we intend to fight it, and we intend to win.
He's talking about discovery there, about discovery against the president, the sitting president.
Which means what, Brain?
I don't know yet.
Well, I could guess.
As with nationwide injunctions,
I could guess, in other words, that
the Russian investigation,
right? Anything that Mueller comes up with isn't something that needs to be put out into the New York Post or the New York Times before it's done legally.
That's right.
And
yeah, that's right. That's how they were doing it. They were because they would leak the information, and then that would give them an excuse to open an investigation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everything was back.
Judiciary can subject the executive branch to new, unusual, disruptive, invasive reviews and oversight. The power of the judiciary is enhanced while the power of the executive branch.
Well, you know what, people? I hate to do this, but I need to get to bed.
We cannot.
Well, I hope you feel good. Feel
executive
better.
branch officers do not work for the judiciary.
You guys all have a good night.
You too.
Well, we're just going to have to keep an eye on this. Most likely, I'm not sure that we're going to get any answers tonight, but in the next few weeks. I mean, between here and
but I mean, there's a limit.
Between here and the midterms, I'm expecting something to happen. I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
I am too, and I want it to happen. I truly do. I would love to say Q's been right about everything, and I would love to see this all happen. I'm not going to hold my breath on this.
Yeah.
Well, we have to consider too that Q is probably making an educated guess based on what they're doing, on what's happening, and sometimes not everything is always going to go the way they want it.
Sure. Look at Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
That got delayed by what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Yep. And then the vote was screwed up. Yep.
So.
Yep. Yeah, we do have a lot of things that have to happen in the next 3 weeks. I do believe Brainstorm's right on that.
I think I don't agree with that. I think we have a lot of things we would like to see happen in the next 3 weeks to ensure or to hopefully ensure a landslide victory. But again, I go back. I'm standing by my prediction that.
Well, I don't agree with your don't agree.
I don't care.
So
there.
So there. Just take your toys. Just go home. Talk to the hand.
I am home, and I'm going to bed.
What is it the Cartman says?
Screw you guys, I'm going home.
Exactly.
Oh, they killed Kenny.
You bastards.
Oh boy, we're a good group of people.
That's my favorite show is South Park. My absolute favorite.
Anybody home?
Hey, we've got Patriot 3.
Yeah, just in time for us to close up. We're closing shop, man.
I saw a bandit leaving, and I said, "Oh gosh."
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I saw a bandit leaving, so I thought I'd show up after he left. Okay.
I was going to get the shepherd's hook and bring you back. I got to go to sleep.
Exit stage left.
Yeah.
Well, people.
You guys are scaring me tonight.
Scaring you?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's
Why?
scary talking about FEMA camps and all that stuff, and then seeing that, out in California, the potential future governor of California's solution to human feces in San Francisco is to print a map of it.
Are you kidding me?
No.
So people can add more, or what?
Sounds like a liberal plan.
Somebody was paid to put together a poop map, is what they call it.
Oh yeah, I saw that. It's even worse than a map. It's actually an app that you can put on your phone.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Oh, you could make some money, man. Have a poop emoji on your app. Oh.
You guys take a quick look at what I put on the broadcasting page.
Hey, Brainstorm, could you get that out so our audience can see that?
Crazy, isn't it?
Oh, my
Crazy.
goodness. Oh, my goodness. I don't know if I want to put this up.
I was thinking about guerrilla posting this around California, and I told a friend of mine, and she laughed, and she says, "You're gonna get, you're gonna get."
Yeah, but what a way to go, right?
Yeah.
That would be the
So your next interview. So, why were you released from your last job? Well, it was a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so that's definitely time for us to hit the hay or something.
A moment for you.
Yeah. So what's that?
Looks like chocolate ice cream.
We're gonna leave it on a smelly note on there, I guess. So I guess we'll have to talk to you next time. Keep your eyes peeled, hide your nuts. You know.
Stay away from chocolate.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah, soft serve.